So let's release that foot pain that you're experiencing. Whether it's a pain that's been with you for a while, or it's just come due to a long walk that you've just had, or when you just have pain when you get up in the morning, this class is going to help you release that pain. So hello, my name's Catherine, and I support people to free themselves from pain so that they can move pain-free every day. So let's get started. So what you'll need is a towel, a medium-sized towel, and you just want to roll it up as tightly as you can into a cylinder shape. Now, if you do happen to have the block therapy block, then this is the block that you want to be using. So we're going to start off in the belly position. Now, we always start in the belly position in every block therapy class, and this is so that we can connect to the breath. So you want to find yourself some space where you can just lie down and place the rolled up towel on the mat or the floor, and you want to place your belly button on top of the rolled up towel. And we want to be breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. So when we breathe in, we want to expand that belly so we can feel it on the towel. And we want to breathe in for 4. And then when we breathe out for 6, we want to release that pressure on the towel. Imagine the belly buttons touching the back of the spine. Now you may want to start up on your elbows and connect to that full breath. You want to feel that breath expand onto the towel. And then feel it release. Now I want to focus on the full exhalation. So you want to make sure that we exhale the breath completely, and then maybe even hold at the top before we take our next breath. Now, if you're feeling comfortable, you can come all the way down. But your breath is always your guide. The ultimate aim is to come down, but it might not be for you today. You may feel some pain in this area. This is due to inflammation, undigested food, or waste that's not been eliminated. Each day you may feel differences depending on what you have been experiencing that day and what things that you've been eating, or the time of the day as well. So remember to breathe in through the nose for a count of 4 and out through the nose for a count of 6. Now, this is feeling comfortable for you. You can search. So this is by moving your body in one direction slowly and then staying in that position, that twisted position, for a few breaths. As long as we're connecting to the pain, we are healing and releasing those restrictions in the body. And we want to be in this position for a minimum of 3 minutes. So we've done about 2 minutes now, so we've got a minute left. So as long as you're connecting to that pain, then you are releasing it. If it is too painful, then you can take the towel away and just do this on the mat. You can even try this on a bed if it's too painful to be on the floor. We want to have the pain only in the area that we're searching. So for this position, we want to feel the pain only in our stomach. We don't want to be collapsing in the shoulders and causing undue pain there. We want to be making sure we're completely down if that's comfortable. And if not, we want to be up and the shoulders back and down. So we take our final 3 breaths here. Okay, and when you're ready, place your hands underneath your shoulders and you want to exhale and come off the towel. Okay, so now you just want to check that the towel is tight enough. So just give it another roll up so you've got that tight cylinder shape, and now we'll move on to the feet. So you want to place the towel on your flat on the floor, and you want to either foot, and you want to place the middle of the foot onto the towel. Now You want to make sure that the leg is bent and not hyperextend. So you can come up on your tiptoes with your other foot, or if you're feeling comfortable, make sure you've got a wall or a chair to the side. You can take your foot all the way off. Again, make sure that leg's not completely straight. We don't want it hyperextend, we want a slight bend in the leg. And if you feel comfortable, you can place the other foot on top of the foot on the towel, and this just adds some extra pressure. Now I want to connect to the breath, so breathing in through the nose for a count of 4, that belly expands outwards, out through the nose for a count of 6, and that belly goes small. And now that we've started to sink into the centre, you can start to search. And you do this just by adding weight on either side. So decide which side you're going to start off with and just lean the pressure. So I've gone for the baby toe side and just lean into that side so you're adding more pressure. Now the 26 bones in the feet, and it's the furthest place away from the diaphragm, so we need to be getting that blood and oxygen, sending it down to the feet to release any of those restrictions. It can be frozen out of alignment, and that's what causes all the pain that you experience. So connect to that pain, breathe diaphragmatically, and if it is too painful, then you can come off and then go back on again. So we don't want it to be too painful. You can also take the pressure off rather than coming off, so put more pressure into the other foot, and that way there's less pressure in the foot that you're trying to get that restrictions out of. Now that you're focused on one side, you might want to slowly go over to the other side, to the big toe side, pressing more weight, more force into that area. And again, if you want some extra pressure, you can bring your other foot on top of the foot. Again, we want to be in this position for a minimum of 3 minutes, but your breath is always your guide. So now you might want to come back to centre and find where those restrictions are, wherever you can feel the pain, and take your final 3 full breaths here. And then you want to slowly place the other foot down if it was up, and then gently take the foot off the towel. Now you may want to wiggle your toes around and do a few steps just to get the blood flowing back into the feet. And now we're going to do the same on the other foot. So you may just want to pick it up and make sure that it's tightly wound up again because of the pressure of placing the foot on it. And then we'll place the other foot in the centre of the foot onto the towel, and then come up on the tiptoes and make sure there's a slight bend in the knee. And if you're feeling comfortable, you can come up and place your other foot on top of that foot. But only make sure you're holding on to something, don't want you falling over. Make sure you connect to that breath, in for 4 through your nose and out for 6 through the nose. And if you want to hold at the top before you take your next breath, making sure you're completely getting rid of that full exhalation. And again, you can start searching, so you can go to either side to add in pressure on the big toe side or the baby toe side, and slowly moving. So the slower we move, make sure that we're not missing any areas of pain. And when you come to an area that's painful, you want to take a few breaths there until the pain either disappears or releases a bit. You can spend a long time in positions. As long as it's comfortable for you, you'll be releasing those restrictions and getting that blood and oxygen to the areas. And move over slowly to the other side. Make sure your knees slightly bent. I've noticed they hyperextended slightly. We just need to be aware of what we're doing, our posture. We don't want to be causing any other damage or putting our body in situations it shouldn't be in when we're doing the positions. So it's just being consciously aware of how our body's positioned. If you take your final 3 breaths here, and when you're ready, slowly place the other foot down if it was up, and gently take your foot off the towel. Give the toes and the foot a shake, and you want to be just taking a few steps. In my last video, I showed you a technique that you can use by using 3 or 2 fingers, placing them in between the toes and pushing down. Now you want to do each of those toes for a minimum of 3 minutes. Now to speed things up for yourself, you can use another technique where you place each finger into each of the toes. So that's what we're going to do today. So place each finger into each of the toes and get them as close to the bottom of the toe where it starts as you can. Now that might be quite difficult. You may not be able to do this. You could also use a wooden stick or a dowel. So I've got myself a long stick, so when you're sitting on the couch, you can get it in between. You don't need to get down to your toes. So it's a useful thing to have, and it's the same width roughly as your fingers would be. So you can use different techniques to help yourself. The main thing is we want to be working in between the toes. We want to get that release. We want to get the blood and oxygen down to the feet. It's the furthest away from the diaphragm, so that's where you get cold feet. The blood isn't pumped there. The restrictions in the body can stop the blood and oxygen getting to the feet, and that causes the pain that you feel in your feet when you're walking around. So connect to that breath, in through the nose for 4 and out through the nose for 6. Now this is painful. There is a lot of pain here for me as well, even though I've worked the toes on many times. The pain always comes in this area because there's a lot to release. There's 26 bones in the feet. There's a lot of things that can fall out of alignment and get frozen. I don't have pain in my feet, but I do feel pain as I use the towel, as I use the block, as I put my fingers in between my toes. So there is always pain in the body due to the way that we stand, the way that we walk. It's even with conscious posture, being aware of how we should be standing and walking, we're not always doing that. So that awareness is key to make change. And then you catch yourself doing something that you stand in the way that you shouldn't, or walking the way that you shouldn't be doing, and you correct yourself. So it takes time to correct these things, but the pain will start to disappear as you start to make the corrections. So take final 3 breaths here, pushing down in between those toes. And then gently release the fingers from the toes, and you might just want to give them a wiggle. And then we'll move over to the other foot. So now using the other hand, again, getting each finger as close as you can down to where the toe starts, in between. Now you may notice a difference from one foot to the other. You may be able to get further down on one foot or one toe. You may not be able to do it. So just notice that difference. And then again, connect to that breath. So in through the nose for 4 and out through the nose for 6. Now in the block therapy classes that I do, we take a full body approach, and that's what I'll talk about in my next video. So make sure you subscribe so that you know when that video is released. So the last thing we're going to do after we've completed the 3 minutes in this area is we're going to cement and try and create that space, so keep that space that we've just created. So we're going to stand up and we're going to grip the toes and arch the foot so that we can cement the space that we've created into the toes. So when you're ready, just release your fingers from there and then give them a little wiggle, and then you want to stand up. We want to make sure our feet are hip distance apart. We don't want to be hyperextended, a slight bend in the knee, and our feet facing forward. And then open the toes as wide as you can, and you should be able to open them wider than you could previously. And you want to grip the toes to the ground, to the mat, and arching the foot up. And you want to hold this for 10 breaths, making sure that you're standing up straight, your shoulders back and down, your head back on that imaginary headrest. So I hope you enjoyed the class, and don't forget to subscribe so you know when my next video comes out, which I'll talk about how we need a whole body approach to have lasting change in our body and get rid of that pain in our feet and in other areas of our body for good. So thanks for watching.